What's good, everyone? Welcome back to another stream. My name is The Goldman, and today we're going to give our thoughts on the entirety of the Ahsoka series 1 week later. How does my mic sound? Does my mic sound too loud? I changed the gain a little bit. Oh well. Let's go to the chat. 7th. Oh yeah, you know what's weird? Sometimes when I do these streams, so like I usually schedule the stream about 24 hours in advance, and then like I see a bunch of comments, and then they disappear right before the stream. So like this person, Raiden Shogun, said 7th, because there were previous comments, but it shows as the 1st. I was 2nd. Hi. Yo, love your videos. Oh, thank you. Hey Goldman, how am I doing? I'm doing really well. I had a good week of work. My Ahsoka video is doing really well. I would love to like go more into my analytics if anyone was interested. But yeah, my Ahsoka video is doing very well. I'm just chilling. My stupid fucking internet still lags, which is annoying. But yeah, I'm doing well. A solid 7 out of 10. Hello there. Howdy. Hey Goldman. I just watched your Ahsoka video minutes before the stream, lol. Did you enjoy it? A Gorayas fan? 9 out of 10. Are you guys giving your ratings? I might put up a poll. Hi, it's been a while since I've been on one of your streams, but I made it back. Thank you. Love the Ahsoka video. I appreciate it. Glad to be back. 8 out of 10 show for real, for real. I'm going to do a poll. I love how when I was doing one of my previous streams, I forgot which episode it was, but like I had just learned how to do polls in the stream. So let me do one here. Start poll. How would you rate? I can't type. How would you rate? Oh my god, Ahsoka. Now, now that the series is over. No, that's too long. How would you rate the entire Ahsoka series? We'll do 10. And we'll do the usual 9. No, I feel like a lot of people will do 10, 9, 8, 7. I can only do 4 options. Ugh. Fine. 9 through 10. 9 through 10. 7 through 8. 5 through 6, 0 through 4. It's on a scale of 1 to 10. We don't have zeros. 1. Okay. There we go, everyone. You can now answer the poll, and we can see what most people think. I would give this show, I think I tweeted that I was going to give it a 7.5. I'm kind of ditching the half measurements. I'm going to stick with the solid 7, and that's a little generous. It would probably be a 6 if I was not a Star Wars fan, but because I am, and I appreciated a lot of what Dave did here, I'd give it a 7. This is how like my ranking system goes on like 1 to 10. 10 is perfect. No, 10 is perfect and beyond. 9 is great. 8 is really good with a few issues. 7 is mostly good with noticeable issues. 6 is mid, but I was entertained. 5 is mid. 4 is few good, mostly bad. 3 is really bad with few good. 2 is like atrocious. And I really don't think I've seen a movie I'd consider a 1 out of 10. 1 out of 10 just like not a movie that would be made. So I would put this at a 7. Like I mostly found it to be good, but it had some glaring problems that we can discuss. And most of you would have seemed to agree to me. We got 7 and 8. Some 9s and 10s. I love seeing that, but I wonder how much of my viewership or my view are more invested in Star Wars. I mean, obviously I'm a Star Wars channel, but I wonder if I have a more like positive demographic. Let's go back to the chat. Needs more sequel connections. We'll get there. Loved your Ahsoka video. Thank you. I enjoyed the show and your vid. I do wish the show had more episodes to sort out the pacing. You know what's really interesting, Rishav, is that I've seen so many people say that the show was either too long or was too short. Which is, I don't know how I feel. I feel like it was fine. I don't really have an issue with there being too much or not enough. I feel like what they did, they could have done better. This show is just a series of events, not a story. I would strongly disagree with you, Nathan. Where would you put Rise of Skywalker? Probably a 4 or 5 if I'm feeling nice. Probably a 4 if I'm being... It's a movie I like, but I gotta be objective. I love Democracy. Episode 5 was my favorite, though I didn't like the first few episodes because of the weird forced Ahsoka Sabine dynamic. Yeah, I think that's going to be one of my biggest issues. The show concluded. I love the way the show concluded Ahsoka and Sabine's story. I don't like how they began the story. And that's a really interesting predicament. What scores would you give the other live action shows? Okay. I'll go in order. Mando 1... 9, Mando 2, 9, Boba Fett 4, Mando 3, 3, Andor 10, Obi-Wan a 5. That'd probably be my ranking. And then Ahsoka would be a 7. Lots of 9s and then really low. Your review channel is actually human and reasonable. I love how you're honest about your biases and what you're a fan of while also analyzing the story. Yeah, that's what I try and do the best. I have a great talent where I feel like I can convince myself to like anything. Like I could probably sit down and watch a bunch of bad movies and really like it. But the reason I do YouTube, the reason I make these videos is because I want to one day be a writer. So I try to be as objective as I can while acknowledging my biases. There's no point in me trying to become a better writer if I just convince myself to like everything. So that's kind of how I approach certain things. Hello there. What's up, General Grievous? Did the show change my opinion on Ezra at all? No, I've always loved Ezra, and I loved Amonis Fondi, I think that's his name. I loved his portrayal of the character. Ahsoka being so chill about Thrawn being able to escape troubled me. I saw a really interesting point. I'll get to that later, actually. But I kind of agree. I think the show trying to convey Ahsoka being more on this character arc, right, where she's more wise at the end. But I don't like how that means removing all emotion. Like, Ahsoka should still be allowed to be annoyed or pissed or frustrated that things didn't go their way. And I think that caused some of the frustration that they spent all season trying to stop Thrawn, and they failed, and they didn't seem to care. So I agree with you there. Too much nostalgia bait? I would disagree. Mando 3 wasn't that bad. I really hate Mando 3, but I'm glad other people like it. She's also way too chill about being stranded in another galaxy. That was like the whole point about Anakin showing up, like her, like knowing she's in the right place. I'm not a big fan of that, but I get it. It's kind of Star Wars-y. I thought you liked Mando 3 more than Boba Fett. I did, and then I thought about it more, and Mando 3 just really doesn't attempt to do anything like creative. It just doesn't attempt to tell any story, while Boba Fett attempts in a really bad way. So I'd give... And at the end of the day, Boba Fett did have the 2 good Mando episodes. So even though it derailed the season, at least I can rewatch those and say this is good quality storytelling. Something Mando Season 3 completely lacked. Cameron Moneypenny says, I love you, Goldman. Thank you, Cameron Moneypenny. I love you too. May the Force be with you all. Nice. What are your thoughts on how Season 2 should handle Baylan without Ray Stevenson? I think they should recast the character. There's no other... The Harry Potter movies could recast Dumbledore, because the original actor died in the first 2. So if Harry Potter can recast Dumbledore, Star Wars can recast Baylan. Like, Baylan's not the most important character in the Star Wars franchise. He's not Leia, so they can recast him. It's a shame. It's a terrible situation, but at the end of the day, that's what Lucasfilm has to do. They can't leave the story open-ended. So will Ahsoka just stay there for the sequels? The sequels are a full 25 years away. A lot can happen. Think about it this way, people. The timeline between The Phantom Menace and Return of the Jedi is a little bit longer than the timeline between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Because 36 years passed between Phantom Menace and Return of the Jedi. 36 years. And then 30 years passes from Return of the Jedi to The Force Awakens. So a lot can happen. I hope we get more backstory on the Night Sisters joining Thrawn, maybe even get a Merrin reference. I hope they don't ever address Merrin or Cal until after the final game in the Jedi Survivor, in the Jedi series comes out. I don't want to have those games spoiled. Love your channel and positivity towards the franchise. Thank you. I always try to be positive when I can, but fair when I can't. Yeah. the 2 Mando episodes in Boba Fett were better than any episode of Mando 3. Oh, I totally agree. I would completely agree. Ahsoka seemed really annoyed in the whole whale post Anakin about Sabine leaving, and then dropped it almost instantly after seeing Ezra, which I don't buy. Yeah, I noticed that on my rewatch too, that even after Ahsoka had this arc, I don't know if she seemed annoyed about Sabine's decision, but she expressed feeling about it that was a little bit more negative, and she did kind of drop it. But I did hear a really good point, and I mentioned this, or I said I had a really good point a few minutes ago, where Sabine ultimately made a choice to save a friend than to stop a threat, right? And I think a moral dilemma this series was posing was, would you sacrifice a friend to stop a threat? Or save the galaxy is a little extreme, but would you sacrifice a friend to stop a threat? Sabine said no. Ahsoka initially was going to, but what I realized is that Ahsoka in a way also sacrificed, or Ahsoka did not sacrifice a friend to stop a threat, because when Ahsoka arrived on Peridea, she could have instantly attacked the Eye of Sion. She could have tried to destroy it. She could have instantly tried to attack Thrawn, an attempt to keep Thrawn stranded on Peridea, but she went straight to Sabine and Ezra. So in a way, she would not sacrifice her friends to stop Thrawn. And I think that was kind of the theme of the show, is that these people are not going to do that. They're not going to sacrifice their friends to stop a galactic threat. And that's an interesting perspective. What do you guys think about that? What if Ahsoka restores the Jedi Order in the other galaxy, and that's why she's not involved in the sequel trilogy? Thing is, like, what Jedi? Who's going to show up? There's her, Sabine, Shin. I don't think Baylan would rejoin. Like, if Shin wanted to become good, I could see that. But it's like, who else? There's no other humans there that we know of, I guess. At least for now, it just seems like there's a bunch of bandits and the Noti, the little turtle people. But I don't see that happening. I don't see this being the end of Ahsoka and Sabine's story pre-sequels. Like, I think they're going to show up again. There's a lot of hints that Skeleton Crew is going to tie into Peridea. And we can get into that in a bit. Dude, YouTube's so annoying. It's always telling me, oh, insert ads midstream. I'm like, I don't need to. I'll have an ad in the beginning of the stream, and then you guys don't need to worry about it. But it's like they put up notifications. Oh, you can place ads. You can place ads. I'm like, thanks. I'm making enough money off my YouTube videos. I don't need to place ads. Personally, I wished Baylan and Shin were aliens instead of humans. I bet Rey and Ivana would be open to it, as it could have brought in their acting range. Thing is, it's a little annoying for the actors, and I don't think they need to. Also, Ahsoka is 22 years from Force Awakens, not close. I think it's more. If this takes place, we'll say 10 ABY, it's 24 years away. So, a little off. I can see the new Jedi Order in the other galaxy being made up of all the Mandoverse Jedi, like Sabine, Ezra, Jason, Grogu, and Ahsoka if she survives. Boy, you think they're just going to keep on going back and forth from this other galaxy? This Ahsoka gave me no indication that this other galaxy is special. Like, this planet, Peridea, maybe? But nothing about the galaxy as a whole seems special. It'd be interesting to see if they explored the other parts of the galaxy. I mean, what if ships from other planets in that different galaxy show up to Peridea and they're like, hey, want to join us? And they're like, sure. Agree with the guy who said about the Hobbit problem when the story stretches too much? Oh. This is not like the Hobbit, though. I disagree. Going to be honest, I thought they were just going to pretend that kids can usually be really annoying, but I thought they did a good job with Jason Syndulla. Sure, the Kanan references were a little on the nose, but I didn't mind. I don't get people saying that Sabine giving Baylan the map was a selfish decision. She thought that Ahsoka was dead, and if she had refused to give it to him, he would have just killed her. True, I mean, at the end of the day, it is somewhat selfish. Because if she destroyed the map, then she would have saved the galaxy. But that's what makes a character human. People always expect characters in movies and shows to act logically. And I think that is one of the poorest ways to view storytelling. Having Sabine make an emotional decision there was a great character moment. I think they could have handled the aftermath a little better, but that moment itself I loved. Have you seen the Templin Institute's reimagining of the New Republic? How do you think it compares to the show? I have not. The show didn't do all that much to make the other galaxies seem interesting, but that didn't seem to be a priority of the show at all. I'm sure they'll explore it more in future stuff, like Skeleton Crew. Yeah, that's a good point. So there was a, it's not a leak, but there was this production post or something where they have to go through a company and there's paperwork, whatever. And in it, they give a brief synopsis of Skeleton Crew. Can I look this up? Synopsis. Because this was quite recent. Here we go. I will read to you guys what it says. Takes me to Twitter. So as it says here, in the first episode of the Skeleton Crew, we are introduced to 4 kids who make a mysterious discovery on their seemingly safe home planet and get lost in a strange and dangerous galaxy. Finding their way home, meeting unlikely allies and enemies, will be a greater adventure than they ever imagined. So that's the premise. I think it would be in poor taste if these kids went to a different new galaxy. So I assume this is the same galaxy, and then maybe somehow they'll end up on Peridia, and then they'll run into Sabine and Ahsoka. That could be interesting. I think that could be really interesting. Let me go back here. I remember people jumping to conclusions that Jason will join Luke's Jedi Order and then die by Kylo Ren. Yeah, that is an assumption, and we'll see what happens. I hope they don't completely ignore Luke's academy forever. Luke took Grogu, and then Grogu left, and are we ever going to see Luke again? That's why I think it was a grave mistake to CGI Luke in The Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett. Because now making Luke a main character in these shows, or even a recurring character, is going to cost them so much money to animate Luke. And I just don't picture them ever having a CGI character being a main character. While if they recasted Luke, Leia, and Han, they could have used Alden Ehrenreich for Han again. But if they were to recast the characters, then you could actually bring them in consistently. And you could make Luke a main character. I really think people would be okay with them recasting the characters, as opposed to just not seeing them ever. And that is one part of Return of the Jedi, or post-Return of the Jedi era, that feels so weird, is how uninvolved Luke seems to be. I get he's off doing Jedi stuff, but I just picture Luke would be more involved, like he is with the EU a little bit. I wonder if there's a heavily populated system in the new galaxy like Coruscant. It is a whole galaxy, so I'm sure at some point there's a heavily populated area, and I would love to explore that. I hope Jason doesn't become a Jedi until he's an adult post-sequel era. He'd be in his 40s. No, he'd be in his 30s. The Rey movie, he'd be in his 50s. Wow. If there was one now, then that would mean he would have to die. It doesn't mean he'd have to die. There's easy ways you could write around it. I feel like Dave Filoni cares too much about his original characters to let Jason, Ezra, Sabine, Grogu, Shin, or any of the other surviving Force users at the time to die in Luke's Jedi Order. And I wonder how far they're going to go. Because we have this Mandoverse era, right? I don't think it's going to stretch that many years. So it's post... So right now, Ahsoka takes place in 10, 11 ABY. It's can say the Mando movie ends in 15 ABY. It's there's still another 30 years there, 20 years they could do. Are they going to do more shows that are closer to The Force Awakens than Return of the Jedi? That would be really interesting. I'm not sure. Sup Goldie, I agree the show had a lot of potential. Dude, my stupid stream disconnects. By the way, I like that your channel does not jump into the hatred and rant train. Really appreciate it. I'm not capable of that, I guess. Again, haven't felt like this in years. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the future of the franchise, and in that way, I think the show succeeded. The show should have been called Sabine because she's the focus. I don't think the show should have been called Ahsoka. I hate these shows that are named after one person. I hate that Andor is called Andor. Obi-Wan's a little different because it's one season that's really about him. The Mandalorian's more so of a title. It's not called Din Djarin. But Ahsoka, this show could have just been called Heir to the Empire, and I think it would have worked out much better. It would have been interesting. I really think titling the show off of a character a lot of casual audiences don't know helped to hurt the peak reach that the show had. Like, if this show was called Heir to the Empire and was the exact same story, I think the show would have been better off. Yeah, it could have been called Rebel Season 5. Pretty much was. Which of the 3 Star Wars movies announced do you want to see the most? First would be the Rey movie, then would be the Mando movie, then would be the Dawn of the Jedi movie. I just always like stories going forward, and I'm not interested in the past. So the Rey movie is like really going forward into complete uncharted territory, while the Mando movie I'm still excited about because it's moving forward with characters we don't know the fate of, but we still know that. If you think about it, like, besides episodes 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, every Star Wars story in the canon is some sort of prequel that has been handicapped by something in the future. The prequels have. Every single Star Wars show, while watching it, you knew what could happen in the future. Pretty much all the books. So, Star Wars, it's not very often where Star Wars goes at the edge of the timeline, and the original movies and the sequels are the ones to have done that. I'm usually a sucker for endings too, but Rise of Skywalker is still my least favorite of the sequels. These Disney projects can never hurt me more than the Book of Boba Fett. You Boba Fett fan? Because it didn't hurt me. I was disappointed it sucked, but I don't care about Boba Fett, so. When I watched The Phantom Menace for the first time, I was kind of expecting them to talk about the Dawn of the Jedi for some reason. Like when it came out or recently? Or when you watched it like for the first time? I wouldn't say that about any of the Mandoverse stuff. Like, we don't know what happens to Mando or Grogu or Ahsoka or any of those major characters. True, and that's why I'm still excited for the Mando movie. It's just like lore-wise, we only know there's so much they can do. And it's probably not going to be as big of an event as the sequels are. I would honestly love more expansion of Grievous. I would be very sad if they expanded more on Grievous. Oh, I just realized this, guys. I'm sorry. I was not properly set up. I apologize. I like Bosk and the guy, Clone Wars, with the Captain America hat. I don't remember which character you're talking about. And I don't know why my computer keeps disconnecting. I need to, review this shit. I'm going to go back to the poll, actually, because I'm curious to see what you guys think now. So, 27% say 9 out of 10, 47% say 7 through 8, 19% say 5 through 6. So, I think it's mostly around, a 7 or 8. Yeah. So, 7.5 with 105 votes. That's awesome. By the way, guys, if you're enjoying the stream, please hit the like button. I'd appreciate it. I think Ahsoka Season 1 was better than the 3 live-action seasons we've got before. Which 3? Like the 3 more recent ones? So Andor, Mando 3, and Obi-Wan? Would you rather they use the next season of Tales of the Jedi to explore characters we already know? I want Tales of the Jedi to explore already existing characters, but not Ahsoka and Dooku. Like, Dooku was interesting. I think exploring Ahsoka again was a waste of time. I don't want them to do Anakin, or I don't want them to do anything in the prequel era. And that's not because I'm biased towards the prequels. Like, we've had enough of those characters in animation. I'd love to see more with Luke. I'd love to see stuff with Baylan, maybe. I'd love to see stuff with the sequel era. Sue me. I'd be more interested. I'd love to see something with Ahsoka and Sabine, actually. Like, Ahsoka series. Although it would be interesting, I thought about it. If they were to do, like, a Tales of the Jedi with Rebels characters, then we'd be seeing the Rebels characters in Clone Wars animation, which would be interesting. Like, sure, we saw Kanan and Hera as kids in The Bad Batch, but seeing, like, an adult Ezra in Clone Wars animation would be kind of funny. Or Sabine, too. Are you excited for The Acolyte? I am for now. I think the premise is really intriguing, and I like that they're expanding the timeline. And I hope it's great. I thought it was on par with Mando 1 and 2 and Andor. Yeah, I think it's not as good as those, but it's better than the rest. Andor is kind of separate in my mind. Yeah, I kind of think about that too, because Andor doesn't really feel like Star Wars. And that's not a criticism. It just feels more mature. And Star Wars is not the most mature franchise. The other 6 shows, like Obi-Wan, Boba, Ahsoka, and The Mandalorian, those kind of feel like Star Wars. while Andor doesn't. And I think that's what makes it so fresh. If they make a season 2 for Tales of the Jedi, they are making a season 2, they should have a longer episodes and each episode on a different Jedi. I would love that too. Like, why did they have to be like 15 minutes? Do like a 30-minute episode. Do like 8 30-minute episodes that are all unrelated from each other. I'd rather them do that than devote a 15 episodes to Ahsoka as a baby. I thought that was such a bad idea. I laugh a bit when you say, I would be sad if they did an expansion on Grievous. I hate Grievous as much as anyone else, but now I want Grievous book just to annoy you. Okay, listen, a book or comic I wouldn't mind, because those take very little resources. You just hire for a book one person, say write about Grievous. I wouldn't mind that. But if they were to do any shows or stuff on Grievous, that's a waste of time. It's a waste of thousands, millions of dollars, and I hope they never do it. Rise of the First Order show would be good because The Force Awakens didn't show it very well. Well, The Force Awakens didn't show it well at all. It showed it terribly. And I think that's what kind of these shows are going to do. I'm starting to feel like Thrawn's not going to tie into the First Order, but they're still going to reference it. Like, there will be multiple Imperial remnants, and Thrawn's remnant is going to lose. And then that's why the First Order stays in hiding for another 25 years or around there. What about Mace Windu expanding? I'd prefer him over Grievous, but no. Especially if it was after Revenge of the Sith and he's alive. I've made this promise. If they ever bring back Mace Windu and he's alive post Return of the Jedi or post Revenge of the Sith, I will not watch that show. I doubt it'll be a movie. I would not watch the show. That would be my boycott. And I'm wearing purple. But that would be my boycott. I would disagree with that decision so much. So yeah. I give every episode a high rating, 8s and 9s across the board, but I give the season a 7 because I don't like every plot thread was left a cliffhanger. Yeah, I think there was much better ways they could have done that cliffhanger too. I can't pin it down, but Ahsoka just felt so underwhelming to me. I still liked it, but I wanted to love it. Yeah, I don't want to say underwhelmed. It just didn't, it kind of met my expectations. I was hoping it would be great, and it wasn't. But it wasn't bad. I would rather rewatch this show 10 times than rewatch Boba Fett or Mando Season 3 once. I think right now I'd rather... But I've already watched each episode of Ahsoka like 3-4 times. Well, I've watched each Obi-Wan episode twice. But this show was way better than Obi-Wan. I feel like the First Order can really take inspiration from 1984, the book. Just complete totalitarian taken to the most extreme. I think the Rise of the First Order would be a lot more beneficial in book form, to be honest. We can really expand on their philosophies and stuff. I get that people would want to see that on the screen, but I'm going to start getting into the Star Wars books more. I have a lot back here. I don't know if you can really see them all. No, I'm not turning my camera. But yeah, I want to get back into the books. I've been reading Harry Potter right now, and I'm on Goblet of Fire. I think after I finish Goblet, I'm going to take a Harry Potter break and read some Star Wars books. And I got to buy some. I've been missing a few. I know a book on Kira just came out today, and Emilia Clarke is, like, gorgeous. So maybe I'll support the book. I watched The Phantom Menace for the first time in 2018. I only started watching Star Wars movies in 2016. Rebels Season 1 was my first Star Wars experience. I'm surprised. I've recently heard, or since I made my Rebels video about a month ago, I've heard a lot of people talk about Rebels being their introduction to Star Wars, and I haven't really heard that before. And I love to hear that because, you know, I'm one of the biggest Rebels fans you'll find. So I love to hear that. Honestly, hot take. If I had to choose like any show, say I was stranded on an island, I could only bring one show or one trilogy of movies. So I could bring the prequels, the originals, the sequels, The Mandalorian, Clone Wars, or Rebels. I would take Rebels. I would take Rebels over any of the movies. Hot take. It's not as good, but that show just connects with me so much. So yeah. I watched Goblet of Fire today. Really great movie. No spoilers, by the way, for Harry Potter. This is kind of my first experience. No spoilers. I'm part of the minority that's read the Harry Potter books, but never seen the movies. Yeah, I'm going through them all right now. After each book, I'm reading each movie. Or after each book, I'm watching the movie. So I've only watched and read the first 3 books, and I'm reading the 4th one now. I know a few spoilers, but again, please, no spoilers. Oh, we have 94 people in the chat. Awesome. Let's get back to Ahsoka, people. what do we think can happen in season 2? I think what was really, I don't want to say disappointing, but something that was a little frustrating about Ahsoka was not that it ended on cliffhangers, but it just ended with complete lack of closure on certain things. Like every plot point was left completely open-ended. While, say like the Force Awakens cliffhanger, that's pretty concrete. Like we knew in episode 8 that we're going to do stuff with Rey and Luke. We knew the First Order was going to do stuff. While here we can just like barely guess what's going to happen in the future. Well, I feel like if they had a little bit more concrete cliffhangers, I think that would have been better. There's a kind of charm that comes with the Rebels, something that's just special about the characters. I agree. Rebels hits different. Not true, the relationship part of Ahsoka was resolved. Or advanced. Yeah, true. I mean, the character arcs were complete. I'm talking about more so the plot threads. Such a shame that Ray Stevenson won't get to finish the story. Yeah, it's a shame. And I wasn't really familiar with the actor, so now that I've seen him in Ahsoka and I'm more familiar with him, it just hurts that much more. But it happens. I think it will only focus on Ahsoka and Sabine in the other universe. I think it would be really interesting if season 2 only focused on the characters on Peridea. Ahsoka, Sabine, Shin, Baylan, and then introduce some new characters from this galaxy. I find it difficult that season 2 of Ahsoka would spend a lot of time in the main galaxy when Ahsoka's not there. The show, like Hera might not be in a second season, maybe. I wouldn't be surprised if Hera and Ezra and Thrawn and such moved to The Mandalorian season 4 instead of being in Ahsoka season 2. I'm going to move my mic a little bit closer. We need to see live action Zebagrin. Agreed. I want to see a series about Lor Santeca. There's theories, Beatrix, that Jude Law's character in Skeleton Crew is going to be Lor Santeca, but younger. But supposedly Jude Law's character is a Jedi, and Lor Santeca wasn't a Jedi, so I doubt they're going to go down that route. But that would be really interesting. I'd actually kind of like that. It would be a really neat connection to a character who had barely any screen time in The Force Awakens. It doesn't really feel like it, but the main plot was resolved. Thrawn and Ezra are back. The biggest thing is Baylan thing, but we've been such a big deal. Yes, I agree. I think the lack of closure stems from Thrawn not doing anything when he got back to the galaxy. Like, we were told to fear Thrawn all season, and his fear Thrawn and his return. And when he returned, nothing really happened. I think they needed to pay that off a little bit better. With maybe a battle of some kind. What's your favorite piece of Star Wars media? I'd say Rebels. Maybe I'm a little biased because I've been into Rebels recently, but right now I'd say Rebels. Is that the guy in the beginning of episode 7? Yeah, the guy that Kylo Ren kills, the old guy. I read that. But Dathomir is big, though. Yeah, it's big, but it's too open-ended. It's like, what are they going to do in Dathomir? Probably create zombies. They could do a little more. Are you familiar with the Legends character Abeloth? I would not be surprised if they were somewhat leading into Abeloth. That's definitely on the board. Ahsoka season 2 needs a time jump. I feel to tie the other stories being set up for the Mandoverse. Yeah, probably. Great show, but I hate how early they killed Marok. I think it's Marok, like Marrok. Marok. I didn't care. It's like not every character needs to have the most intricate backstory. Tales of the Jedi about Ezra arriving in Peridea and his escape from Thrawn would be nice. I think that'd be a really good book, though. If they summarized, like if they did a book, I think the Star Wars books, the canon books, really frustrate me because a lot of them are good. I just don't think they do enough unique ideas. Like they always do stuff that doesn't tie into the future of anything. Like I think if they just had some books that were releasing alongside the Mandoverse, like the Ahsoka series, right? And then they did a book about like Hera and Sabine, or Hera and Ezra doing something, and then that would lead into like season 4 of The Mandalorian. I think that would be a much better way to market the books, but instead they're doing like a Kira book. We're never seeing Kira again. It almost feels like when a character gets explored in a book, you know their story's not going to be picked up elsewhere. Like, we're probably never going to see Kira on screen again. So like, oh, let's throw her in the comics. Let's give her her own book, which is unfortunate. What do you think Ezra would do if he found out how Sabine got there? He'd be mad, but like, what is he gonna do? Get like angry at Sabine forever? I think seeing that story point pan out, I think that's faded. I don't think they're gonna address it again, which is unfortunate. Would you prefer the sequel films or new films totally separated in the Old Republic? I'd prefer the sequel films, to be honest. I get the idea of, doing stuff in the Old Republic. I've just never played KOTOR, so I don't have much of an emotional investment. I've heard it's great. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm not one of those people that craps on the EU. Like, I've read 4 EU books, the Thrawn trilogy and Shadows of the Empire. I liked all of them. I thought Shadows of the Empire was actually really good. But I'm not gonna. I've heard stuff about the EU, but I'm not familiar with it. I've never played KOTOR, so Revan's story sounds interesting. I would like to see it, but it's not going to be at the top of my list because I'm just not familiar with it. Would you regard Starkiller's introduction to the main story as something that isn't new then? We've seen Starkiller, though, and I don't think he's ever being brought into the canon. I don't. Yeah, it would be weird to have him get mad, but then they have to work together and stop Thrawn anyway. Also, I don't think Ezra's gonna find out. Like, the only people who know about Sabine's gamble are Sabine, Ahsoka, Baylan, and Shin, and Thrawn. And 4 of those people are on Peridia right now. So, like, is Thrawn gonna tell Ezra? Maybe. I don't see how it would come up, but it could. It could. What Star Wars video game is your favorite? The Jedi Survivor, but I watched it. Like, I sat down for a 4-hour YouTube video on the cutscenes and I watched that. And I'm not much of a gamer. I don't play story mode games. I rather just sit down and watch the cutscenes or the major moments of gameplay. Yeah, I don't know if that makes me a loser or not, but I'd rather sit down and watch Jedi Fallen Order or Jedi Survivor for 4 hours than play it for 20. Have you read the comics of the OG trilogy, but the Death Star doesn't blow up? The Legacy or Infinities? Star Wars Infinities? No, I've not read those. I feel like Cad Bane should be in a second season of Ahsoka. Cad Bane's dead. He's long gone. They butchered him. Will we see more of Thrawn's race or not in season 2? I don't think so. I don't think they're going to tie into the Chiss. I think Thrawn's just going to be a blue guy, and they're never going to bring up the Chiss in these shows. Which is a little unfortunate because a lot of Thrawn's backstory is really rich, but I don't think they're going to do that. By the way, guys, so I am going to end this stream in 15 minutes, about 10 to 15 minutes. It is 9:10 Eastern Time. At 9:30 Eastern Time, I'm going to be going live on the Tatooine show. So what I'm going to do is right before I end this stream, I'm going to post a link so you guys can just wait like 5 minutes, and I'll be back on debating with Star Wars Only Lunga and Balpa memes. So just because this stream is going to be cut short, I will be streaming on the Tatooine channel. Well, frankly, to be honest, they should be streaming on my channel. Nah, I'm not going to be like that. How many times have you watched Andor fully through? Only once. I need to rewatch it. Thing is, Andor is one of those shows that I would feel like I would really need to binge completely again. While shows like Ahsoka and The Mandalorian, I can just watch one episode a night and be like, yeah, that's enough. But like Andor, I'm going to want to sit down and watch the whole thing because it's so good. What is your worst scene in Ahsoka? I don't know if there was a worst scene. I don't have one. I have some best scenes. I just think a lot of the issues I have, the major issues I have with Ahsoka are not the things they did, it's the things they didn't do. So it's hard to say I disliked a specific scene. What the scene didn't do that would annoy me. What is your Andor rating? Oh, it's a 10. Borderline perfect show. Is it like the best show ever? No, but it's really good. So you can sue me. Filoni is, of course, reuniting Mando and Grogu in another show. They're already together. They don't need to be reunited. What would you say was your favorite scene from Ahsoka? My favorite scene would probably be the Baylan versus Ahsoka fight / Sabine giving Baylan the map in episode 4. I don't know if you're going to count those as two different scenes. If I had to choose one, it would be the Sabine part. I just thought that was a really good character moment, and I'm annoyed they're probably not going to follow up with it. But episode 4 was so good. Episode 4. How was Thrawn handled in your opinion? He was handled well. I explained this in my video, for those of you who didn't watch it. Thrawn, people keep on calling Thrawn an idiot, but they completely misinterpret like Thrawn. Like, sure, Thrawn could have maybe destroyed the tower or maybe sent more TIE fighters after them. But his only objective, and delay Ahsoka. He did not care about killing Ahsoka. He did not care about killing Ezra. He only cared about slowing them down. So people are like, why didn't he send 10 TIE fighters to destroy Ahsoka? He didn't need to. That's not his goal. He doesn't care if they're alive or not. And frankly, from his point of view, if he's going to... He probably assumed that any amount of TIE fighters he sent to stop Ahsoka, they would all die. All the TIE fighters, not Ahsoka, that is. So I think Thrawn's aware that the Jedi are kind of unstoppable. So he's not going to waste his resources trying to kill them. He's just going to use his resources most efficiently to try and slow them down. And that's what he did. So it's like, why didn't he just blow up the tower earlier in the episode? Because had he have done that, then he could not predict what Ahsoka, Ezra, and Sabine would do next. And that's Thrawn's biggest fear, is letting Ahsoka do something unpredictable. And that's the whole point. So I thought that was really smart. And I get frustrated when people say Thrawn was so like dumb in these episodes. He did not want to kill, or he did not care about killing Ahsoka and Ezra. I mean, shooting the bombardment, it's like if they died, he wouldn't be upset, obviously, but that wasn't his main priority. His main priority was just escape. And that's what he did. Episodes 4 to 6 were the best of the season. Yeah, I then it got really good, and then it like fell off a little bit, but not as low as the beginning. That is the best explanation. Thank you. I thought that was like implied, but I get sometimes these shows don't convey their ideas in the most efficient way. And man, it is really fucking hot in here. I need to start putting on my fan and AC before I do these streams, because man, I'm sweating. It's possible that Rey may have met Anakin's Force ghost in the year gap between 8 and 9. I doubt it. The Force ghosts don't just show up to random people. They show up to someone they know to aid them specifically. Now, you could say, like, the voices to Rey in Episode 9, sure, but they didn't, like, show up and talk to her. They just, like, said, you got this, Rey, you go, girl. So, like, no, Anakin showing up to Ahsoka, or Anakin showing up to Rey wouldn't make sense. It's kind of like if Vader showed up to Kylo. People wanted Anakin to show up there. That wouldn't really make sense either. Kylo doesn't know Anakin. I'm not trying to answer questions about Star Wars theories, Jaden. Bless you, Goldman. Thank you. Activate Ray shields. What's your favorite Star Wars character? Probably Luke. Basic answer, but probably Luke. Probably Luke. I'm going to miss, which is probably the next show. I think what I'm going... Assuming it's 8 episodes, I'm probably going to like wait for the first 3 to come out to see if there's much discussion going on. And if there is, I'll do live streams. If not, I'll just do like discussion streams like the next day. I tried doing live streams for Mando, and I was just not doing it. Like, I did not care enough to. At least Ahsoka made us engage in conversation week to week. That's something Mando Season 3 did not do. How would you feel if they made a Star Wars What If series? I'd prefer that over Visions. I really would. If they did a What If series. I think that could be really entertaining. Doing like animation. Do it like in a different animation that's not Clone Wars or Rebels. Doing something else. Will Anakin being a Force ghost explain why he wasn't prominent in the sequel trilogy? He did not need to be prominent in the sequel trilogy. I disagree with that. He didn't want to destroy the tower because Morgan and the stormtroopers were still there. He probably didn't care. And again, if he destroyed the tower and Sabine and Ahsoka, then they could fly straight and attack Thrawn's ship. But here, since they went through... So yeah. My favorite Star Wars characters are General Grievous, Jango Fett, and Anakin Skywalker. I think Jango Fett's a more interesting character than Boba Fett. I mean him being in Ahsoka. I saw your tweets to Star Wars Theory about having a sequel fan on his show. You're setting them up to get bullied like crazy by certain theories like, hey, Goldman, come on a stream with me. I wouldn't give a shit if his fans are calling me names. You need someone who's familiar with the game. I know the lightsaber fights have been praised in Ahsoka, but I love how much homage they paid to the animated series in terms of the choreography and how they're shot. Yeah, I'm confused why so many people are criticizing the duels. Like, they were good. I don't want them to be over choreographed like the prequels. So I never had any issues with the lightsaber fights. I really didn't. They're realistic given the characters. It's like, what, do you want Sabine to be like Obi-Wan and Anakin? That would be silly. Here's a better question for you. What are you thinking about the film that's supposed to be about the Dawn of the Jedi? Any predictions? I think they're going to tie it into other things. I have no predictions. And I frankly don't like to predict about things that I know very little about, because then it sets me up with expectations. Dawn of the Jedi, let's see what happens. I'm not expecting anything. I'm expecting a good movie, and that's it. I know it doesn't make for engaging conversation, but that's kind of how I feel. Like, I'm not going to speculate too much about things. You've honestly helped a lot more, so I'd hope you'd be able to do that with some of Theory's fans if you're given the chance. If I'm given the chance. The clones are likely going to retire on the planet the Bad Batch found them with the treasure hunter. I haven't watched season 2 of the Bad Batch, so I don't know. Excited to see John Watt's take on Star Wars. Skeleton Crew might be surprisingly good. Yeah, it might be. It very well might be. It could be very interesting. I know my stream is cutting out for you guys, and I just don't know why it's doing that. Like, do I need to update OBS? No. I don't know, guys. Like, I don't know. It drives me insane. I might need to start doing this so I don't know when it cuts out. People are probably tuning off because of that. I might need to start going back to StreamYards, but I don't want to pay money to stream, dude. After how disappointing the sequel trilogy wrapped, what would be an interesting concept for a future trilogy? If they did like a Vong War against the Yuzong Vong, that could be really interesting. Just something completely different. Not like the Empire again. Just something completely different. Bad Batch Season 2 was an improvement. I've heard. I'll get to it eventually. I'll get to it when Season 3 comes out. I'll just binge the whole season in like a weekend. Your videos are easily... Bad Batch Season 2 was amazing. Some of the best Star Wars. I know what's his name dies. I'm reading the Tatooine DMs and like they're all dumbasses. Skeleton Crew is going to be following a group of kids. This leads me to believe there's going to be a teen drama, something we haven't seen before in Star Wars. I think they're younger than teens, though. They're young. So, I don't agree. Do I even have the link for the Tatooine show? Bad Batch Season 2 was mid. Bad Batch Season 2 was good. Especially the Pabu episode where they eat 30 minutes. Spend 30 minutes eating sushi? What are you talking about? I think there's a lot of potential for a Skeleton Crew. I hope it's good. What's your opinion on a Star Wars horror movie? Not necessary. Not necessary. Overall, final thoughts on Ahsoka 1 week later. On executing those ideas, which is unfortunate. I don't think it completely missed the mark. Like, it's not as bad as the prequels, but it could have been so much better. And I think that's what's frustrating. It's like when you watch a show and you just instantly know, oh, that could have been so much better, instead of watching something and just feeling like, that was pretty bad, and then not thinking about how it could have been any better. What is your favorite lightsaber and why? I don't have one. Rey's lightsaber because it's gold and I'm the gold man. So there you go. The episode of the Bad Batch where they just ate sushi the whole time. Yeah, I wouldn't know. I haven't watched it. All right, guys. if you end up not doing the other live stream on your channel for the rest of the year, enjoy the holidays. Oh, I will. I have plans. I keep a Google Doc list of some of my plans. I want to do I think next week, I think I'm going to go back to 2+ Star Wars Disney Plus show ranking. I might do a Mandoverse episode ranking. So there's 39 episodes of the Mandoverse. I might do that. I might do a character tier list again. I did one of those like 2 years ago. I might do it again. That would be a fun stream. Tier lists are fun. I like doing them. I like ranking shit. So I have some of those planned. And then I'll do some discussion plans if there's big news about shit in Star Wars. Then I'll probably do this. Or I might start doing some streams about other stuff because I don't just cover Star Wars on my channel. I might do streams where I rank maybe MCU stuff, DC stuff, Harry Potter once I finish the books. Because I do have I have 2 more Star Wars videos planned. Actually, yeah, 2 more Star Wars videos planned. And I think that's it for the rest of the year for Star Wars. So like 1 in 2 weeks from yesterday. So then 1 in 13 days. I try to release a video every other Tuesday, if you guys haven't noticed. So 2 weeks from yesterday, will probably be my next video. You guys want to know what my next video is? I think it's going to be an interesting one. My next video, coming out 2 weeks from yesterday, is going to be Disney Star Wars 10 years later. Whose channel is the Tatooine show on? The Tatooine channel. So actually, what I'll do right now is go to YouTube. I'm going to go to the Tatooine show. I'm going to pin it here. When will Atla Part 3 come out? In November. I want to pin this comment, dude. Pin message. This link right now. Go to the link that's pinned in the comments. The one that's right here. I tried to change this. Right on top. And go there right now. Just go there right now. Don't wait for me to end the stream. Just go there right now. I'm actually going to comment in that chat. Hello. So yeah, go check out this stream right here. And I'll talk to you guys in 5 minutes. But for those of you who won't, but you're still here, thank you for tuning in to another stream. I really appreciate it. Don't forget to tonight the Glod Squad, and I will see you guys next time.